So I think this is going to be a part 2 video because it's otherwise going to be a bit long, and it makes sense where I just talk you through in a part 1 how I came to this style and then basically show you how I do it. So today I will be drawing these flowers over here, which are also on the cover, I think. Yeah, so they are on the cover. And I could use this cover page as a reference because that is a bigger photograph. So what I'm going to do is paint these flowers, which are called, let's see what they're called Cosmos Sonata White. And they're very pretty. I really like them, and the reason I decided to pick these flowers is because white is very challenging to paint, because how do you paint white, you know? But I will show you because I drew a white flower over here, and hopefully you can see what I've done here is just playing with shading. And the other reason I want to do white today is because I really love how this particular watercolor looks on the page. So basically it's one of the new colors that I've ordered from Schminke, and it's this one right here. So it's the new 2017 release color, and it's called Perylene Green. It's quite unusual because this color tends to have sort of like grey bluish kind of undertones. This one, however, has green, and I haven't really seen this kind of shade or tone is the right word of this color anywhere else in any other brands. So that's quite special, and I do like it. I love to use it for shading and things like that, and as you can see, when you water it down quite a lot, it ends up looking really interesting as a white color. So let's start by drawing. I keep the information of the sketchbook in there until I'm finished. So if you need to know, this is the Beta series, extra heavyweight, 270 GSM, white. I think that's all you need to know. So I'm going to put the flowers onto this side as a reference, probably. Hopefully you can see. It feels so good to be able to sit on your desk and just have coffee and do some drawings and not needing to do anything else. Okay, so I'm just looking at these flowers and I'm randomly going to pick different shapes. So one flower that might be looking towards the back or turned towards the back, one that is sort of halfway, and I quite like the look of the bud, so I will pick different flowers which I find interesting, and then I will put them on my page as kind of like a sort of like a spread, and then I will then proceed to watercolor. Sorry, I realized I was painting off camera the final one. So I've just written the title of the flower and the name. So the actual flower is the Cosmos, and then the color or the particular type of it is called Sonata White. And then I'm going to use my Ranger Archival ink in jet black to stamp the date. And I quite like this layout, and it works quite well as sort of like a, you know, journal entry. Alright, so that is the spread, and I just wanted to talk you through really quickly what I was looking at. Some of the things I kind of use my imagination and add things here and there, or curl pages, curl the petals, because I feel that that will look quite nice. And you don't have to look at something and, you know, copy the exact everything. As long as you copy the essence, the shape of the petals and things like that, then that's what you need to do. I had to zoom out a little bit because I wanted you to be able to see the process, and, you know, me using the watercolors and things like that. I hope it's not too fine, you can still see quite well. So over here I've got my reference where I'm going to look at the flowers and see where there is most of the shadowing, and that's how I'm going to approach it. So the first flower I looked at was this one here, and as you can see, the shadows are here and inside there, and a little bit here, and then these are the whitest parts. So I'm going to leave the whitest untouched because the white is the paper, and then the shadow I will just slightly kind of bring some dimension. Then the second one is this little what is it called, bulb, and it's obviously still an unopened flower, so there's a bit of shadowing at the bottom here where there's the light not hitting it. And finally the third flower, we've got some shadowing also, so the most shadowing is happening at the bottom here and here. So I will start with probably yellow. So I do like my transparent yellow, and I'll show you on the swatches. That's this yellow here. It's quite organic and beautiful, and these two are not as transparent, and yeah, so that's why I quite love it. And I'm going to place it over here. And the great thing about this transparent yellow is that obviously you will still be able to see these black lines, and that's obviously great. And I'm not going to do much about it, but I do want to leave a little bit of white just because it's my kind of style. I love that. I don't like covering everything in one sort of layer of color. So I quite like the foliage of this flower. I think it's very attractive, and I decided to capture it by putting a little bit of it just down here. So I'll do the green last. Now concentrate on this great color which I love, the Perylene Green, which is right here. You need really just tiny little bit of it because I don't want it to be that dark. I just want it to be a light shadow. So I'm going to grab on to this, and then this even is a little bit too much, which I'm going to water down in a mere second. So I'm just looking at the picture, and it makes such a big difference. If you were thinking of kind of adding a few colors from the new release, I would highly recommend this color. It's very subtle if you want it to be subtle, and then it's quite interesting if you kind of want to make it a bit more stronger. It's a great convenience color for when doing white. So if you like this sort of thing, or you're quite often doing it, it just will make your life so much easier. And this technique is sort of, you know, tricking your eye to believe that this is white. Although it's got a little bit of color, but we're using this color to let the white speak for itself, but just suggesting a little bit of shade. Now, although this petal doesn't have any shading hardly, it kind of starts to stand out a little bit, so I am going to go into it and just do very gentle. I hope you can see it. Actually, I'm going to zoom in for you. There you go, I think you can see now better. So here's very lightly, and in terms of the curled petals, I will leave them like that, as they are. Now I'm going to move on to this one, and this one is a little mix of kind of like a greenish right here at the bottom, like so. I can't see it, I'll move it around for you. And I'm just going to move it around a little bit, and same thing here, just as a suggestion, I'm going to dab in this. So this one is a bit more tricky because there's a lot more going on, but I'm going to leave it to dry and then come back to it. So let's continue with this one. So here I'm going to go back into the Perylene Green and start with the darkest parts of the shade. So I can see that at the bottom here it's the darkest, and then it kind of goes like so. And then if I don't want it to dry like this, I'm going to go in back with the water and just move these edges and make it a little bit more subtle. Let me zoom in so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go back into this color again, and then looking at these petals, I'm going to imply that this is where it's kind of bending down, and therefore it's hitting the shadow area like so. And where else? This one is quite dark. So again, when just tricking the eye here, just realized my Perylene Green got too much yellow in there from before, and so I need the clean color again. So here we are. Next one is going to be this one here. It's got quite a bit of shadowing almost to the edge of the flower, and then this one as well right here, and then this one. This is a very simple technique to paint white flowers, really. So here I'm going to just repeat the shapes, and wherever you can see a little bit unnatural kind of edge. Then I'm just going to smooth it out with a bit of water, and I think I'm going to leave it at that. I quite like the way it looks. And now I'm going to zoom out and go into the green. So the green is a lovely kind of sap green, so it's a warm toned green. So mine is a little bit too bright. The Schminke sap green is a bit too bright for my liking, so I'm going to go into transparent yellow, and that sort of makes it a bit more the colour that I like. I'm slightly concerned that this brush, yes, I need to go for a thinner brush, so I'm going to go for the 2-0 because this one is just way too it's not fine enough, I was trying to say. So I'm just going to colour in these green bits and pieces like so. And then I'm going to go into this one. The light is starting to get quite dark outside, so I need to make sure I sit down to draw a little bit earlier, which is not easy because I have my other things to sort out in the house, and with a toddler as well, you have a handful of things to do. I hope you can see this. I'm zooming out, I think, too much, and I'm not sure whether you can see what I'm doing really well, so apologies about that. I'll try for the last flower, hopefully you can see better what I'm doing right here. Okay, so I'm going to use exactly the same green, but I'm going to mix up a little bit more just because I already used up quite a bit of it. So I'm going to go into here and then just continue like so. The foliage is very pretty in this one. It's very kind of feathery and very light. And because it's so thin, I don't really need to play around with the green and kind of create different shades of it. Just because, you know, it's very, very thin and you're not going to really see that much of it. And so it's really simple. You just follow these lines. Carefully color them in without trying or trying to not go outside of these lines, because it looks a lot neater that way. And I'm thinking whether I actually would need to suggest a few of these below this flower, because obviously the way I drew it you can see between the petals, or shall I just leave it like that? I think I might just draw a couple here below. Hopefully I'm not going to mess up. But just like so, very wispy, very thin one coming out this way. And there needs to be a third one. And maybe that direction. Yeah, so a longer one going this way. Now if I go straight away into this ink, it's likely to move a little bit, so I'm just going to leave it at this stage and then go and try to correct this yellow one and just add a little bit of colour like so, just glazing it. I think that looks quite nice. Okay, and then I can just soften the edges by cleaning out the brush, and then into the dark one and just darken it up right here, right at the bottom of it. There we go. That has created a nice dimension now. So it doesn't need any more because the style is quite sort of, shall I say, quite light. And I'm just thinking, yeah, it should be now enough time, so I'm going to go into these areas right here. I think it looks much better now, kind of a bit more complete. Before something was missing. And that is it. The other thing I should have done is just dotted some fine dots in the center, so the yellow bits have a bit of dots kind of thing. So I think I'm going to do it now. And like I said, it's the best thing to do is before and not afterwards, because the ink tends to spread even when the watercolor is dry, and it will give you a lot less finer line. So this is it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a really easy way of doing botanical painting. It's getting super dark outside now, so I hope the light is not being too distorted. And yeah, so it's very cute, and I might do something on this last page just because, you know, why not? It's the paper that's used to be glued on the cover is actually the same watercolor paper, so you can totally do some illustrations on this side as well. So thanks for watching and see you soon.